Lev Trotsky, who managed to place second in the first TFT World Championships, is definitely not retired. In fact, the top 3 European players are also representing the top 3 EU West ladder right now. And what's more interesting is how Lev Trotsky managed to claim the second rank that fast. Yes, we are talking about 13 top 1 in the last 20 games, with an average of top 2.0. This is just insane, and if we go a bit lower, we can clearly see that the last 5 games he made a top 1 with a single comp, Socialite Kai'Sa. In fact, it might be the hardest comp you will try to play if you want to play consistently. The destination looks easy, but the journey to get there is the hardest part, and the more flexible player you are, the easier it will be for you. Well, the win condition is very easy to understand. If you manage to build this comp with all 2-star units, then you are very likely to make a top 1. But that's just the result. Let's look at the real win condition. Your real win condition is to have a strong early game, a strong mid game, and a strong level 8, which allows you to push level 9 and then play the comp I just showed before. We will talk about how to have a strong comp in all stages, but first I'm going to show you different comp variations because Kai'Sa is not the only carry you need to play, and you will see that. I will be honest, the best variation is with Kai'Sa as a hyper carry. Even if the Socialite Spotlight is in front, it will be difficult to beat this comp with another variation. The second best variation is probably with Viktor. He has very similar items to Kai'Sa, so if you don't find Kai'Sa, you just play Viktor and you can definitely win with it. You still have a great chance to have a top 1 with this variation. Then, the most infamous version that comes with the last patch is Akali. It's definitely less strong than before, but Akali still deals massive amount of damage with GA Archangel and IE. If you got an early Tahm-Kench and you could feed him correctly, you can decide to play Tahm-Kench carry like I did in my last Wrecking game. You just need to feed him a lot of AP, ideally he needs at least 100 AP, and then tankiness with health, armor or magic resistance based on your lobby. In case you don't know how to feed your Tahm-Kench correctly, you can check this table that tells you everything about stats and units. You can put your Tahm-Kench on the spotlight if the spotlight is in front, or you can put your Jace in the spotlight if the spotlight is in back. And finally, if you're not healthy enough to push level 9 but you still manage to gain 1 Galio at level 8, then you can play this low cost version with Fiora as a main carry. This has also the potential to give you a satisfying game, or you can decide to play this as a transition in order to be able to push level 9 and then play with the 5 cost carry. Now, if you look at it a bit more closely, don't you think that Galio has the potential to cosplay into Santa Claus and actually give free LP to anyone? I'm coming, my children! If you want to have this cheat sheet I personally made on your phone, you can find it on Tactor. I will put the link in the description and you can have access to a lot of information for free. The items are not important, but they are important at the same time. Having the best in-slot items will help you to win against someone else who plays Galio as well, but it will not matter that much against any other comp. So let's talk about the different items for each unit. Sion will be your main tank, and it's not going to be Galio, because Galio will lose the aggro when he jumps while Sion stays on the field. Basically, put him whatever defensive item you found. For Galio, you can just put him anything else. You can go with utility like Shroud or more defensive items, or even AD items to make Clap You as a second carry. Now, for Kai'Sa, you can look at this tier list. The fights are very long, and that's why Archangel will always be S tier. Sometimes Kai'Sa dies for no reason, so the GA is relevant, and it also helps to make the fights even longer. For Viktor and Akali, GA and Archangel are also the best items, but after that you can look at these different tier lists in order to look for another third good item. For Jace and Tahm-Kench, you don't really need GA and Archangel, even though these items are not bad for Tahm-Kench. And if you want to play Jace and Tahm-Kench, you want to play Jace with his ranged form to have enough damage. And finally, for Fiora, you can use AD and AP. Usually, if you put her AP items, it means that you want to stabilize your board at level 8 with her to push level 9 and then swap Fiora for 5-star carry like Kai'Sa or Viktor. The reason why I said earlier that the items don't matter that much is because I don't want to see you losing early fights because you were looking for S tier items where you could slam a A tier or a B tier item which would have made you win the fight. Every single loss puts you one step further away from your level 9 and from this Exodia comp. have always been a player who likes defensive components during the early games. Items like Sunfire, Ionic Spark, Bramble Vest, Warmogs are so impactful during stage 2 and stage 3 that they increase your odds of winning the early game. Also, they are very flexible because any tanky units can use them correctly, and it's very different from offensive items like Deathblade or Rabadon, which require a specific carry to use the potential correctly. Anyway, here I show you some good early game comps that I really like right now. If you have many natural 2 stars, then you can follow this leveling pattern. And note that if your main units are not 2-starred, then it's better to play it slow and build a bigger icon to have a strong mid game, like this leveling pattern. If you think that the early game is your main weakness, then you want to check this early game guide where I share simple methods that every challenger players naturally use. I wanna see your little legends burning. burning that way, actually. Now, after the Krugs, you should have dropped a few offensive components if you decided to go with defensive components. Good! Now is the time to invest on a mid-game carry. Some of them can still be low-cost units, such as Twisted Fate, because Twisted Fate with blue buff plus Morello is insanely good. But if you don't have these items, then it's better not to count too much on him. If you're on a win streak, you can push level 6 at stage 3 on, but most of the time you want to push level 6 at stage 3-2 for better econ. Don't hesitate to roll a few times if you need to find upgrades such as 2-star units, new synergy, or even completing a synergy. Again, the aim is to win streak as much as you can. Then, if you are win streaking, you can even push level 7 at stage 3-5, but do this only if it allows you to add one unit that strengthens your board. Don't push aggressively just to put 1-star Ziggs that adds nothing on your board. I've seen that, and it made me really angry. And if you're not win streaking, then usually you want to save your icon after stage 3-2 to be able to push level 7 at stage 4-1. At level 7, you usually want to change your frontline and carries, and that is why you will roll. For instance, if you had a bodyguard frontline, then you want to roll to find Leona 2 and Blitz 2 or Braum 1. Again, I'm giving you some examples here, but the idea is to find a board that will make you win most of the stage 4 rounds, while spending the least gold possible because you want to keep your icon to push level 8 and even level 9. This is extremely hard to master, and this is, in my opinion, the difference between the top 10 player and the top 1000 player. Also, if you feel like you don't hit much, and that will happen from time to time, because of Mordog, it's also great to consider many different comps based on your items. The Socialite is your main goal, but never stop considering other options because playing flexible often means that you need to give up on your main plan. This is the trickiest part, and the more you play, the more you will feel it. If you follow my plan, you should be able to level up 8 at either stage 4-5 if you have a huge win streak or at stage 5-1 for most cases. And from here, you have different scenarios. The first one, you have an insane health and gold thanks to the masterclass early game and mid game you made. You can decide to skip the level 8. However, the losses you will take might be nasty, so be prepared to lose at least 60 HP if you skip your level 8. The second case, you have around 50 HP and you have a good econ, but you need to roll at level 8 and look for focused carries and tanks that will fit correctly your comp. You can for instance play around 2 Socialite plus Fiora carry, and if you find your 5 cost units, then you can play them. Once you have all your 4 cost units at 2 stars and you win the fights with them, then you can rebuild your econ and push level 5. If however you lose the fights even with the 4 cost units upgraded, then you have to keep rolling at level 8 and play for your top 4. Third scenario, if you have low health, you are going to stay level 8 forever and you need to roll down for focus units like I just said before. And if you are very lucky, you can maybe find Galio 2 and Kesa 2 after rolling a lot of time. Anyway, your aim is to save a top 4. What really matters at your level 8 is not to try to skip the level 8 if you are weak or low HP. Instead, try to play around the first 4 cost carries that you find and that fits your comp, meaning that the items you have are good for them and you have good synergies as well. Don't try to gamble your game at level 8 by saying, I hit Galio or I die, because I'm going to tell you these statistics. If you roll 25 times at level 8, so that costs 50 gold if you don't buy anything basically, you have only 50% chance to find the 5 costs that you're looking for. Do you really want to gamble your game with the 50-50 at level 8? If you find this video useful, please put a like, it helps me to grow even more. The last video with 100k views, I never done that in my channel, it's completely crazy and it's the best gift that you guys gave me, and I hope I can give it back to you with these quality videos. I will be honest with you guys. This comp is extremely difficult to play consistently if you are not used to playing flexible. If you still want to learn this comp, I suggest you to abuse the new ranking system that prevents you from demoting and playing without fearing the loss of LP. Or you can also try to play in normal games if you're too scared of losing LP. But if you do that for 10 games, you will start learning to play flexible and you will learn the fundamentals that every challenger player has mastered already. Never forget that the 3 Socialite is your dreamed destination, but you will often need to give it up to play something else along the way. With that being said, tell me in the comments if you managed to achieve this comp multiple times or if you are starting to learn flexibility, and I will see you again in 2022. Have wonderful holidays and I wish you the best. Lev Trotsky. Oh, I swear!